All right, founders, it is time for another pitch deck critique and review. And this time we have a subscriber by the name of Diego who sent me this pitch deck. It looks like this is going to be a seed deck because the app is already launched and got some good traction going on, raising about $1.7 million, if I am not mistaken. And we're going to do this quick review. Before we continue, my name is Ed Kang, seven-time funded founder with two X's. Just a fancy way of saying I failed a bunch of times for your benefit because I like to use these videos to help, especially early stage founders, raise money and get that traction for your pre-seed or seed round and help you avoid some of the catastrophic mistakes that I've made. Not to say you're not going to make mistakes, but try and make your life a little bit easier. In my day, I've raised over 9 figures for my startups and other people's startups, as well as funds and all that good stuff. So I'm going to give this deck a little bit of a critique and review, and let's try and improve it and help Diego and his co-founders out. Let's jump right in. We are going to start with the cover page here. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name of this app because I understand that this is a non-English consumer app for users outside of the traditional North American market, which would be an emerging market like Brazil or Mexico, in other Hispanic countries. And there are a lot of investors that are interested in emerging markets. I'm going to say right now, if you're going to present this to English-speaking investors, you really have to focus on this sub-headline, probably make it bigger is going to be my first reaction, make it bigger and bolder. And you want to avoid statements such as soccer simplified. That doesn't mean anything. It is marketing fluff, it's jargon, it's a tagline. Here, also, the entire ecosystem accessible on a single platform. That doesn't really say much either. I'd rather you have a simple one-line statement that says what this app does. Maybe it says an app to connect soccer teams and soccer fans. Something along those lines. Or you can actually say an app to connect soccer fans and soccer teams in Brazil or around the world, globally, something along those lines to show that you've got a bigger global reach than just the North American market. As we know, soccer is a lot more popular outside of North America than inside North America. We've got football. I guess I should be using football, but soccer is a good word in terms of that's something that investors will understand, and this is straightforward. So improve that tagline and highlight it for your English-speaking investors who are not familiar with the language or the market. Now, here's the problem slide. Soccer fans seek to engage with other supporters, follow their favorite teams, and feel heard by their club. Currently, they must consume content and interact using multiple disconnected platforms. Generally, I understand where you're going with this, and this picture actually helps a little bit. But here's where I want to give you feedback. It's going to be important for you to clearly work on the English because I know you're going to lose a lot in translation. But if you don't get this translation right and you don't get the English right, then you're going to lose English-speaking investors. Now, you may be working with just Spanish investors, but if this deck has been sent to me, I am English-speaking, and I'm going to need to understand this. So we want to adjust this problem statement and add some more details. I want to know the soccer fan. I want to know how many. So we want to know how many soccer fans are out there, and that gives you an idea of the size of the market. And then when it says they must consume content, interact using multiple disconnected platforms, I want to know how many as well over here. So you may say something like 80 million soccer fans around the world must use an average of 8 apps to connect with their soccer clubs, something along those lines. And then if you add a picture like this of a soccer fan and you've got all these multiple apps on where they have to connect, that's going to be a good way to represent visually what you're saying right here. Therefore, I'm going to get back. Good problem statements talk about how many fans there are and the severity of the problem. The market size, let's say 80 million soccer fans, and the pain of the problem. Have to click through 8 apps on average or 12 apps or something like that to engage with their soccer club. That's going to improve this problem slide. Next, we get to a second problem slide. This is problem slide number 2. This is the team's problem. Soccer teams can't identify or monetize their fan base efficiently. Now, here's where you are going to have to make a decision. You have to pick one problem. And I understand that you kind of have a double-sided problem. You're solving multiple problems, but here's the deal. And I want to talk to all the other founders out there. I know many founders that come to me and they say, but Ed, we solve multiple problems. And I understand that. And your app or your solution most likely can solve multiple problems. But take a look from an investor standpoint. If you go and say, we solve 2, 3, 4 problems, the investor is going to think, well, which problem are you solving? And which problem do you have the best chance of solving with my money in the beginning stages to prove to me that you're going to continue to grow and every startup eventually solves multiple problems, becomes a little more general, channel and expands its market. But the investor is not interested in that. The investor at an early stage wants you to establish a beachhead. Where are you going to land and expand, dominate, the same way that Facebook dominated Harvard and solved the problem of Harvard students just connecting with each other? Didn't even try and solve the problem for Harvard, the university itself, the administration, the marketing, the student engagement department. I don't know what they were working on. They didn't even worry about that. They just wanted students to connect with each other. So if you are saying your app is going to be B2C and it is solving the problem of soccer fans being unable to connect with each other because they have to go through all these multiple social media apps, then just solve that problem and start there. Or you can be B2B and say, we have a way for soccer teams to reach out to their fans, which is a completely different approach, and your deck is going to be different. So I want you to pick one problem, and I'm going to show you how to integrate the B2B aspect, the team aspect in just a moment. But again, I get back to focus on one problem, pick, land and expand, acknowledge the other problems. But that's where you want to go if you want to attract those early stage investors, especially the institutional or the professional ones. So for this slide, I'm just going to go with the B2C solution because that's what I see in the rest of your deck. And I'm just going to say, let's get rid of this. And this chart is really confusing. I don't understand what's going on. And you're presenting all this new information that is just going to confuse the investor. The investor is going to be smart enough to know if you get millions of fans on your app, the soccer teams are going to follow, but there are also other ways that you can monetize. Now we get to the solution slide. This app is the super app that connects fans with each other, their favorite teams, and the entire soccer ecosystem all in one platform. It fosters fan engagement and enables teams to directly access their supporters. Enhanced fan engagement directly translates into increased club revenue. Let me point out the good things that are happening right now is you are reverse engineering the problem statement. So you're saying fans connect with each other in one platform. So we said in our problem statement, fragmented multiple platforms, they connect with each other in one platform. And it fosters fan engagement, enables teams directly to access their supporters. I like this solution. So you're adding a little bit saying now teams can interact with each other. Enhanced fan engagement directly translates into increased club revenue. I'm going to take this out because that's not the problem that you're going to be solving for. Now you may decide you want to solve for that problem, which you're going to inverse everything and make this about the club. But we're taking for granted that if you got more fans, they're going to go to games, the teams are just going to make more money. So let's not worry about this right now. And let's just focus on the fans connecting with each other all in one platform. Therefore, with those little tweaks, this solution statement is really good if you are solving that problem of fans not being connected with each other and having to access multiple apps. Here we have the second solution slide, which really should be a how it works slide. So I want you to change this and go how it works. Here's the thing. There are many competitors that have got similar features who promote. I love what you got going here to show us that the app actually exists with the different interfaces. And I love the simplicity of this. The issue is you're not saying anything different than other social media apps or even the team's own apps that they send out to consumers could possibly say. You're saying the exact same thing. So what I want you to do is tell me in the steps of how it is different. Start to integrate where the app goes a little bit differently from each other. If you say fan selects their favorite team, I can do that on the apps that I've got right now. And by the way, you're going to have to factor in some major competition that's coming down the road. I just saw a press release of how ESPN and all these other sports networks are combining for one super app. And I use one of these sports apps here in Canada. It's actually called The Score. And you can look at it right here, and I can look up teams, I can follow them, I can catch their news, and I can kind of chat with other teams, especially during games. We watch them together. You're going to have to share with me how your app is different than the other major apps or the major companies that are going to have the budget to come in and compete with you. So tell me on the how it works slide how you are going to be different and show the investor that you are already thinking about the other competitors while remaining straightforward and making a very simple explanation of how your app works. I get it. It's a balancing act. It's easier said than done quite often, but that's going to be your job to figure out how to really clarify the message and make sure the investor understands that this is simple to use, but different than the competitors. Showcase that in this slide. Now we come to how it works for the club. I like what's going on here. You say the club can basically be featured on the app and then add all this stuff in here, which is great. I don't think you're going to need this. And if you can make this a little more clear, I like this little ecosystem that you've got going on. So I'm going to say, yeah, let's have both slides on there, let's have how it works for the fan and then how it works for the club. You see what I'm doing here? We're solving the problem for the fan, but we're saying that the club also becomes part of the solution. I'm digging this slide. Here's the team's product and service slide. You can take this out because you said that on the previous slide. Next is the traction slide in terms of the teams that you signed up. This is a good slide. It says we've already signed up this Santa Cruz team right here, and we have the other teams in negotiation. Solid. It's showing that you're talking with those teams, and you can say pretty much this team, the Santa Cruz, is part of your beta. And it's pretty straightforward. So I really like what you've done so far with this. Now you've got another solution slide. I think this is solution slide number 3, where you're saying all in one place and you're showing more pictures. This entire slide is not necessary because you've already said this before. So we're getting redundant here. But if you want, you can start to include some of this in your other pages as maybe a little bullet or a highlight stating, look at the testimonials that were got, or you can move this to a later page, especially when you're showing your traction graphics, which you've got a good one coming up here. So let's get rid of this entire slide, but let's use these somewhere else. We have another traction slide. It looks like we got a tournament here. Thousands of tickets sold through the app, ticket validation, access control, user engagement through the events. I don't think you need this because you're going to incorporate that, if anything, here, move that to a previous slide, like the team slide, and say that we sold tickets for this event for this team. But if you're going to say thousands of tickets, this is an ambiguous number. It's wishy-washy. I want to know exactly how many tickets. Thousands could be anywhere from 1,000 to 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. That's what's going on in the investor's mind. So saying thousands is not good enough. You want to be a lot more exact with your numbers. And I personally would recommend that you move this to a later slide in terms of your traction slide that you've got going on. You got a traction graph that is upcoming. I would probably move this information there and get rid of this slide. Speaking of your traction slide, this is where we are. This is a good one because you've got good data. Let me say for other founders there, nobody wants to see a traction graph go like this or a projection graph go like this. This is actual data where we're following the normal curve that happens with any type of app when you are measuring traction. And I like the fact that we've got it broken down and you've got 14% weekly growth over 17 weeks. You want to keep that up. Anything above 10% weekly growth, week over week, that's a really good sign. This is where I'm having some issues, and this is going to be a little dangerous. Weekly active users and monthly active users, 66%, that's all right. But this retention after 1 week, 41% and then 16%, that's not a good number. That shows that you are churning. Unless I'm reading these numbers wrong and you're presenting them a little bit differently, you don't want to do that. So what I would say is eliminate this and just say you're growing 14% on average week over 17 weeks, and you now have 33,000 fans, which is great. And then what you can do is add in the other bullet points of how many tickets are sold and anything else in terms of, let's say, that testimonial right there. You can say, here are the star ratings that we've got. But at this early stage, you're not expected to have churn figured out. It'd be nice if you had good churn numbers, but it's not reflecting properly. Don't put it in. Don't expose your weakness. Just tell the investor we're figuring it out. Right now, we're focusing on customer acquisition, which is going really well, and we need to get these other teams on board for more retention. We've got 33,000 members who've downloaded it. We got their emails and we can send the notifications. It's a great start, as evidenced by your data down here, which is good to add. I really like the traction. 17 weeks shows that you're moving quickly. This is a good one. Now you got another traction slide in terms of you surveying for product market fit. You don't have to worry about that. In fact, this information, you can just get rid of this entire slide right here, because this is data that you're going to include when, let's say, you're going for an A round and you're showcasing that you figured out product market fit, or maybe you're going to do a second seed round and you want to show we figured out product market fit and we need more seed funding. But this slide is not necessary because it just muddies the waters. So take this out. This is my recommendation. Not to say this data is not important. Keep asking and surveying your users, but you don't have to show this to investors right now. All right, here's your competition slide. Now, normally, if you watched my reviews, I really like a magic quadrant that goes like this. But in this case, I'm not liking the magic quadrant. The reason is you have a very rich feature set, and all these apps also have features. So what I would recommend is you have the standard features and benefit matrix and basically go down and look at all these apps right here, competitors, and then check, and then X and check, and show that your app has all the features in one spot. And maybe you can showcase social media as something that's completely missing. Show X or Instagram and show how teams are starting to use them, but they can't talk to each other. They can't buy tickets. They can't do this. They can't do that on all these different platforms. It's okay. I'm thinking that you're going to be better served using a benefits matrix. That's just my suggestion. Here's your business model slide. I like the business model slide. It made sense to me. Very straightforward. You talked about the different ways you're making money. Solid. Now here's the market slide, and you want to put the market slide earlier in the deck. Earlier in the deck, please. You pretty much want to put it after your problem and solution slides to show the size of the market. And here's another really great thing that you did. This is your TAM, this is your SAM, and this is your SOM. And I just want to showcase to other founders, this is a strong slide because the TAM, total addressable market, is 2.6 billion fans worldwide. And you're going to say, hey, we are better suited for the 186 million fans in Brazil, most likely because your app is in Portuguese. But then your SOM are the 90 million fans following soccer team profiles on Instagram. And you're going to say, hey, we can reach out to them because they're already on apps. They already like using Instagram. That's a target market for us. And if we do our job properly, we should get a large portion of these 90 million fans. I dig it. This is a solid slide. Good job. Here we get to the team slide. I want to make this a little more anonymous, so mind my scribbles, please. But I dig it. I like the fact that you've got technical people here on the platform, founder and CTO and founder, and you've got great experience here in terms of what you've done. But check this out here. You've got an explanation of 7 years of working, and you've got a milestone. But then what's going on here? Founder at Zero Pay and You Pay. I don't have enough information. So blow it out and tell us what we've accomplished at Zero Pay and You Pay. Give us an idea that this founder is a serial entrepreneur. Was there funding? How many users did it reach, etc.? You can add more information. And then I love the fact that you've got someone with experience, domain expertise working with teams. This is an A slide. Solid team, technical, in-house talent, as well as domain expertise. Good work. It shows me there's a reason you already had the traction as fast as you've been working that you've achieved to date. Now we get to the funding slide. What I'm going to do is tell you, take this out. So don't put in 420%. It is not your job to value and put the terms out there right away. Wait for the negotiation of the terms, because if you're talking with institutional investors, they're going to have an idea of how much they want based on what you're going to be asking for as far as funding is concerned. This is fine right here. And then you want to say milestones: in 18 months, reach 50,000 weekly active users, run a crowdfunding campaign, run the e-commerce of 3 soccer teams. What I want you to do is just combine all this together. So 1.7 million, we're raising 1.7 million to reach 100,000 revenue in 18 months. So I want you to put this right here, 100K in 18 months, and then put these in here, and then don't worry about all this stuff because it's just repetitive. You already said that right here. Once again, I want you to say we're raising 1.7 million, forget the 20%, to reach 100K revenue in 18 months. And these are the milestones, and have these bullet points, and the funds allocation is super good. Get rid of all this down here. Now we got your contact slide. And I'm just going to say, just have one contact, please. One contact, so you don't have to have 2 contacts there, because you don't want to add more friction to the investor. Just have one contact. It's going to make it simple as possible. There you have the review. I'm actually quite impressed with the deck. Nice work, Diego. I'm glad you reached out. It was good. You got a solid product there, and you got good traction. You're in an ideal spot to start raising seed funds. I think that's great. Not sure how much funding you got before, but keep going, keep plugging away, and let me know if you have an update, and I'd love to review it for you. For anybody else watching, I appreciate you checking this out. Like, comment, subscribe. And if you have a pitch deck that you would like reviewed, just leave a comment and let me know, or track me down on all my social media and contact me, and I'm more than happy to help you out and do these pitch deck reviews. That's it for me on this one. Thanks again. I'll see you in the next video.